welcome to This Explainer Educators. Today, we are diving into something absolutely foundational to teaching, and that is the specific language you use. We're going to explore how the exact words a teacher chooses literally set the professional standard for an entire global classroom. Honestly, whether you've been doing this for decades or you're stepping into a classroom for the very first time, mastering your language is the secret ingredient that transforms a pretty good learning space into a truly exceptional one. Look, I really want to start by hammering home one core idea. Simple English is powerful. There's this super common misconception out there that to sound like a real professional, you need to use highly complex academic vocabulary. Scratch that. It is simply not true. As an educator in an international setting, simplicity and clarity are, without a doubt, your absolute greatest tools. Clear, simple language guarantees your instructions are understood the first time, every single time. Okay, so let's pause for a second and ask a really crucial question. Why is polite English so important in international classrooms? Think about it. When you walk into a room or, log onto a virtual call, you're looking at students from completely different cultural backgrounds. A teacher's level of politeness directly impacts that diverse environment. It acts like a bridge. It builds mutual respect and helps you bypass those inevitable cultural barriers. So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. We'll be looking at 1. The global classroom standard. 2. Professional first impressions. 3. The golden rules. 4. Upgrading interactions. 5. Checking understanding. And 6. Your educator action plan. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The global classroom standard.
So when we talk about the modern, globally connected classroom, why exactly does your English matter so much? Well, because English has this incredible global reach, our classrooms are more diverse and multicultural than ever before. To manage these groups effectively, teachers absolutely need a universal standard of clear, polite language. It's the great equalizer, really. It ensures every single student feels safe, respected, and entirely capable of participating, no matter where they're from. Moving on to Section 2, making professional first impressions. You know those first few seconds of your class? They literally set the tone for the whole semester. Imagine just casually walking in and saying, "Hi guys, I'm Jam." Sure, it feels friendly, but it leans a bit too heavily on slang and lacks a professional boundary. Contrast that with a much more structured approach. "Good morning, everyone. My name is Miss Jam Jamatu. You may call me Miss Jam." See the difference? By using your full name and a polite title, you ditch the slang and immediately build a supportive, structured tone. Section 3. The golden rules. Okay, let's get into the actual mechanics of this toolkit. It all boils down to a super simple formula. Command plus magic words equals a polite request. It really is that straightforward. Mastering the words could, may, and please is basically the engine of professional classroom interaction. These modal verbs soften your commands. They take what might sound like a harsh demand and turn it into a respectful request that naturally encourages your students to cooperate. When you put this into practice, it builds out your essential teacher's toolkit. We can group this into 3 main areas: starting class, managing group work, and checking in. So instead of a blunt, "open your books," you upgrade it to, "please open your books to page 10. When managing an activity, you use "please work in pairs." And checking in? It isn't just asking if they're finished. It's asking any questions and then validating them by saying, "That's a great question."
All right, Section 4. Upgrading classroom interactions.
Now, we have all been there, right? A student mumbles something, you're in a rush, and a confused "what?" or "say again?" just slips out. It's a totally natural reflex, but it can sound dismissive. Check out the upgrade here. "Could you please repeat that?" Or, "Could you explain that again, please?" When you reframe these as B1 level professional communication phrases, you create a noticeably warm, clear tone. It invites the student to try again without feeling embarrassed. Building on that idea, shifting from a basic level 1 A2 proficiency to a professional level 2 entirely changes the dynamic of your classroom. You turn a basic, "Sorry, could you say that again?" into a much smoother, natural, "I'm sorry, I didn't catch that," or "Would you mind saying that again?" And for international contexts where pacing is everything, simply adding, "Could you speak a little more slowly?" is incredibly effective. Now, giving positive feedback like "that's correct" is a breeze, but corrective feedback, that's a bit trickier. We really want to avoid dropping a flat, harsh "no." Instead, soften it. You can use encouraging phrases like "not exactly, but good try," or "let me explain it again." It's brilliant because it keeps the student's confidence completely intact while gently correcting the mistake.
Which brings us to Section 5, checking for understanding.
This is arguably the most critical part of any lesson, verifying that your students are actually picking up what you're putting down. Think about that old habit of asking, "Do you understand?" We know students will almost always just nod yes, even if they're totally lost, just so they don't stand out. Contrast that with the professional upgrade. Is everything clear so far? Or does anyone need clarification? That subtle language shift actually removes the pressure and invites them to ask for the help they need. But it's not just about you. The flip side is teaching your students how to check their own understanding, moving way beyond a basic "I understand." You want to hand them this analytical power phrase. If I understand correctly, this means that. Giving your students this exact phrase is a game changer. It helps them sound highly analytical and professional, and it actively forces them to process the information and summarize it right back to you. Finally, Section 6, your educator action plan. So how do we turn all this theory into reality? I want you to try these 3 exact steps to permanently lock in your new toolkit. First, pick a context from what we covered today, maybe checking for understanding. Second, literally write out a short 6 to 8 sentence dialogue using those upgraded B1 phrases. And third, record yourself speaking it out loud. Seriously, hearing your own delivery is the fastest way to fine-tune your classroom presence. To give you a little inspiration for that assignment, let's briefly walk through a model dialogue. The student starts off politely. "Excuse me, Miss Jumjumrat?" The teacher acknowledges. "Yes." Then the student uses our target phrase. "Could you explain this again, please?" And the teacher responds smoothly with, "Of course. Let me explain it one more time." By practicing this, you get to hear exactly what an upgraded, seamlessly polite exchange sounds like in the real world. So let's wrap this all up. What is the core philosophy here? Keep it simple, because simple English is clear English. Be polite, sprinkle your pleases and thank yous everywhere, and master those modal verbs like could and may for your requests. Focus on your delivery. Applying these takeaways absolutely guarantees you'll build a supportive, inclusive learning environment for everyone. I'm going to leave you with one final, provocative question. Out of everything we just went through, what single professional phrase are you going to upgrade in your very next class to transform your learning environment? Pick just one to start with, try it out, and watch how the dynamic in your international classroom shifts for the better. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy teaching.